this.
Star Wars Theory? And we have one special guest. Hi, everybody.
No, you have to say hello there.
Hello there. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Is this on? Yeah.
Yes.
This is a really big highlight for me because I get to share the stage for the first time with the Obi Wan Kenobi.
Don't you mean only one Kenobi?
Get out of here, Maul. Can you finish him for once?
Yes. He's very hard to kill.
Just keep coming back. Yeah. Well, actually, that's a good segue. What was that like when you found out that Maul was going to come back?
It was crazy. You all can hear me, right? I don't need a mic, right? No, it's okay. I mean, just we got those too, so. It was. Now. You know, it was fascinating the way the Clone Wars worked, because it was the last Star Wars that George Lucas's fingerprints were on. And that's what I think is so beautiful about it and wonderful. Also, how it bridged the gaps of so many things for so many of us that were fans from the beginning. Because I'm an old man. I was born a long time ago. And I saw Star Wars for the first time when I was 7 years old in a drive-in movie theater in San Jose, California, and it changed my life. And little did I know that one day I would be, in rooms with George Lucas watching Star Wars with him. So when George said to Dave Filoni, yeah, Darth Maul's coming back. What? How? Obi Wan and the foreground and the background. And only George can do that and make it make sense. That's what I think is so beautiful about what he created and why Star Wars is still here now. Clone Wars, I think, also had a lot to do with that. I think it did, right? Because we were in that dead period where everybody loved Star Wars. We still love Star Wars, but we didn't talk about it as much, and prequels, and we liked those, but, some people were like, I don't know if I should say that, and then Clone Wars came out and bridged the gap and made it cool again. So I'm just incredibly humbled and grateful to be a part of it. Yeah.
Well, I hope we get to see Obi Wan again and many more projects. I know we have the Maul show coming out.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Darth Maul right there.
Enough segments, you could slice me into keep.
We'll see what he says about that. But,
I was a stand-up comic and I had to deal with hecklers before, so you just watch it, man.
Just remember one thing, Kenobi.
Yes.
Satine and your master both tasted fine.
You're only standing here because I didn't have this in that moment. Yes, I still have it. Yes.
He'll always, he says it right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much time we do have. I think it's 45 minutes. I know you guys have a lot of questions. For me, I don't get to share much time with you in a panel like this. This is pretty amazing for me. So I just want to hear more stories before we get to questions, because that's...
Yeah, what can I answer for you? What would be,
geez, what was it like really in those times making the Clone Wars? And what do you hope that they will make now?
Well, first off, it was amazing because, again, we all hoped it was going to be what it is.
Yeah.
But we had no idea if it would. The movie came out and people were kind of like, oh, it's a Star Wars movie, it's a cartoon. Oh, this character Ahsoka. And we were all just like, just you wait. Because, see, I know you know this, but for 2 years we made Clone Wars before it came out. And that's because George Lucas had the money to do that. And there was no network. We didn't know if we were going to be on Fox. I kind of wish we had landed on Fox. I thought that would have been cool. Prime time, Fox, during Animation Domination, which would have been great for me because I was the voice of Fox. The Animation Domination, The Simpsons, coming up next on Fox.
I did that. I was that voice for 24 years, and that job just went away this year. So call them and let them know you're sad. No, I'm just kidding. But yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But we never knew where it was going to go, and so we were just making it. And the first 2 seasons were great, but they were kind of just figuring it out. And then the art and the stories. And the beautiful thing about working with George Lucas was they'd go, well, George, we can't do that. And you go, why not? And they go, well, because that engine hasn't been made yet, and you can't really do that. And you go, well, what would it cost to make it? Well, it'll cost it. Okay, we'll make it. And how cool is that to be able to kind of do that? I remember my one time, we were with George at the ranch, which sounds very impressive, and it is, by the way. It's one of the most beautiful, magical places. And we're in the hallway there. There was just a panel with him and Dave Filoni, and showed some episodes. And he was talking about Planet of the Apes, and he loved Planet of the Apes. And he's like, it's so cool how they created this, and you believed that these apes were real, and they're all this. And I said to him afterwards, and it's hard to not nerd out with him, but I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Lucas, you do realize the only reason why we're watching those apes is because you created the technology through Star Wars and all of that to make all of this possible now. And he goes, it's like, he just doesn't see it, or if he does, he's very humble about it. So it's really magical stuff, and that was kind of the regular day-to-day for us, was just being there. As Dave Filoni said, we're making Star Wars, and how cool is that? And we hoped it would catch on. We hoped people would like us, and I'm just really blessed to be a part of it. So, yeah. And where do I hope it goes from here? I would hope we would get back to some of that, yeah. So originally George Lucas had said he wanted to do like 300 episodes.
Yeah.
That was the plan. Could you imagine? We'd still, your face sums it all up. She's going, that would have been so great, because we did over 100 episodes. But I wish that we could have done it. And so when we finished, when we were canceled, back when canceled meant something different.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah. I've been canceled now in more ways than one, but when...
Probably be canceled being here with me.
Yeah, probably. Isn't that great? Bring it on. So we got canceled because, he sold it to Disney, and they, they went, well, let's make something that is our own, and they have a right to do that. And then all of you were so vocal with your love for the show, and we had just won an Emmy and all of that. But we were recording, we finished season 5, we were recording almost season 8 at that time. We were like on the cusp of recording episodes of season 8. And so then some of those have come out, they've shown those in animatic form and such. But it was really tough because we were always 2 years ahead. And then that happened, and then they put in that short version of season 6 on Netflix, which was just a tease, and then season 7 came back. None of us thought that would happen. So if they could create something with that magic and that feel that really pays homage to that, I think they'd really be onto something. I think they'd please every bit of the audience, right?
Yeah.
I don't like that there's these 2 forms of audience now, and I think that's too bad. But I think if they do that, and I was watching your review of Underworld, Tales of the Underworld.
Yeah.
And that seems like that bridged some gaps.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, with Cad Bane. Well, the animation stuff always feels like it just feels different than the new stuff they're doing. It feels like it's still along the same rails as what George made with all the animation.
Yeah.
At least most of it. And I hope that it was like pulling teeth getting season 7.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I
found
don't
out
know
on
why
Twitter.
they don't. I don't know why they don't make more. You found it on Twitter?
I found out on Twitter, yeah. That's how I found it. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. I did and I didn't. So this is a very Hollywood story. And then you need to talk, because that's why everybody's here, is to see you.
I talk enough, man. And every time I do, it ends up on Twitter or something.
Yeah, speaking of.
I don't know.
No, so I was at Disney on the lot doing voices for Han Solo, for the Han Solo movie. I did a lot. So I did voices in Rogue One, commence primary ignition, all that. And then I was Stormtroopers, and I was Rebels getting killed by Vader at the end, spoiler alert. And I was a bunch of voices in all 5 of the last Star Wars movies. And we were doing that. It was Tom Kane and myself and Matt Wood. So sound designer, General Grievous, battle droids. And they both go, so there's a rumor we're coming back. And I'm like, no. And then later that day, I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing there's a rumor that this is me. And I'm like, really? And then I get home and my wife, who's somewhere in here, says, "Oh, you got a call from your agents about Clone Wars." And I'm like, "What?" And it was like, sure enough. And then they made that announcement at San Diego Comic-Con, and Matt and Ashley were there, and everybody's like, "Oh," everybody was weeping. It was beautiful. It was really cool that they could do that. So it was fun.
But it's nice that they bring you back at least in little episodes here. It was like the Bad Batch or.
I wasn't in Bad Batch.
No, what was there was another one. There was like a cut.
I was in Tales of the Jedi. I had
Right.
one episode.
Yes.
And I heard I was in Underworld, right? Obi-Wan's in there. I should say, Obi-Wan was in there. But I didn't speak. And it's like, dang it. What would he have said? Yes. And shout out to my friend AJ Locasio, who did young Cad Bane. AJ's wonderful. He's a wonderful actor. He did Marty McFly in the Back to the Future game. And normally everybody would thought I would have done it because I had done a lot of Michael's doubling in the past, but I did young Doc Brown in that game. And that was a ton of fun because Back to the Future, as we were talking backstage, is very special to me. It's certainly special to you.
Yeah.
And please visit my friend Tom Wilson, who's at the show. Tom was Biff in Back to the Future. He's one of the best people on the planet. He's one of my dearest friends. Watch his vlogs, subscribe to his channel. He's just tremendous. I'd love for him and you to meet and talk, but yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Anyways, sorry, go ahead. I want to ask you stuff.
You're here because everyone wants to see you talk, man. So
Wow.
I think we're going to get to some questions because I know a lot of people probably have a lot of questions for James. So
And theory.
anybody besides Maul? Yes, sir.
Superman.
I have a question, it's more of a request, a lore video.
Yeah.
So there is a line in Return of the Jedi by Obi Wan that was never addressed in the prequels as far as I know, and that was, if the Emperor knew as I knew, that Anakin had an offspring, it would be threatened. I don't know where that was addressed in the prequels, there might be some more out there. Just ask you to do a video on it.
Oh, like if you know about both of them?
Well, just that he knew that if they were a threat to him, if they would be a threat to him, the Emperor knew about them. He knew about them. The Emperor knew as I knew that they would be a threat to him. Just trying to figure out what was he talking about.
I feel like he just would have assumed that any offspring of Anakin would have gone one way or the other.
Maybe. I don't know.
And it wouldn't have been that. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you also kind of wonder, even with Obi-Wan, because, I've always said Obi-Wan's a true believer, right? I mean, I'm a person of faith, and my faith is everything to me. And I feel like Obi-Wan is the same as far as the Force and the Jedi Code and all of that. And so you wonder if he knew as much as we all knew as the audience.
Yeah.
We get a sense that he didn't, obviously. So I don't know if you could take it from that aspect, maybe, of...
Yeah, I don't know. I always wondered what happened before when I was watching movies originally, and then you watch the prequels and it feels like some things rushed or cut around because there's so much to cover.
Yeah.
Especially in the third one, there was just too much to cover. Novel, unfortunately. They had to leave so much out.
Yeah.
And I wish that some of those things had been more addressed.
Did George ever talk to you about, or do you know anything about him making stuff between 1 and 2? Because there's that big gap. I always thought he would have done something.
They could do a whole other spin-off series.
Yeah.
Like in the anime,
Yeah.
where like with Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Oh my
With
gosh.
Obi-Wan and Anakin.
See, that's why I love his stuff. He makes it.
Right? Wouldn't you guys want to see that?
Yeah. Well, and I've been pestering them for years, and that's why they won't do it, because I'm pestering probably. No, I can't. About Satine and Obi-Wan. I would have loved to see that story. I'd love to see Plo Koon and Ahsoka, because I was the voice of Plo Koon as well, if you don't know. And so I love Plo Koon. I'd love to see more of what happened there, and those all could fit in those
Yeah.
places too.
Yeah, even like a Tales,
Yeah, teenage Anakin and Obi-Wan struggling with that and trying to connect with Qui-Gon and maybe flashbacks of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and
The
right?
business on
There's-
Kate and Nemoidia.
Yeah. So I think it answers your question of like, what would we love to see? What would you hope to do? I think we're all so ready for it. We've had a lot of years of new stuff. It's okay to go back and tell some of those old stories now because it
Yeah.
means a lot.
I'd love for them to. I feel like there's just so much room,
Yeah.
and they're kind of expanding, this way and that way, before and after, but in between is where I think there's so much room for growth.
I do too.
With the main characters we care about, Anakin and Obi-Wan. If they
Yeah.
don't want to do it live action,
Well,
animation?
Yeah, yeah, that would be wonderful. I mean, and it's interesting to see now. It seems as though we're covering the Clone Wars now in live action.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to get more of that. Like we got
Yeah.
those glimpses of Anakin and Ahsoka and the Clone Wars version. And Hayden's always been so sweet. He was a big fan of the Clone Wars. How cool is that? The first time we met him was in Chicago at Celebration, and Matt and Kat Tabor, Padme. So I was with, you know, 2 Anakins and 1 Padme. And he pulls us aside and he goes, I really love what you guys did. And he was like, thank you. And he sincerely meant it because he's, you know, he's a fan as well. And he's a tremendous actor as well. I was a fan of his before all of that. He had My Life as a House. He had Shattered Glass. Have you ever seen Shattered Glass? It's a phenomenal movie, and it's based on a true story. He's wonderful in it. So I'm glad he's getting his, you know, his comeuppance in the right way.
I think another reason he liked Clone Wars was because it really fleshed his character out
Yeah.
for the film.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
a lot of people didn't understand, I feel like. You know. But anyways, did George ever talk about Underworld?
No, not around me. I'm sure he did with Dave Filoni. You know, so the way it would work is we'd be in the studio, and we recorded in Los Angeles, and then Dave would fly down, and he'd be on the phone behind the glass. We'd be in the booth. We'd be in a big booth all together. We all recorded together. And then Dave would be like, hang on. That's my Dave Filoni. And he'd be on the phone, and he'd have his hat, and he'd come down, and he'd come back, and he'd go, okay, so if we could do, and we're like, who are you talking to? Well, if we could do, who were you talking to? I was talking to George. Oh, you know. So it was just always exciting, you know, because we're just all a bunch of nerds. D. Bradley Baker, you know, dressed up as he made his own Jawa outfit when he was like, you know, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And he went to the local movie theater and he handed out popcorn and stuff as a Jawa.
Yeah.
You know, so we were all fans. Tom Kane, the brilliant Tom Kane. Y'all know Tom. Tom was Yoda, and he was the announcer of every episode. You know, Princess on Ryloth, Obi Wan Kenobi, and Anakin Skywalker. You know, so that's Tom. And sadly, Tom had a stroke a few years ago, and he can no longer speak. And it is, I'm going to start crying if I think about it. He's a truly wonderful man that loves Star Wars and is so passionate about it. I hope some way we could get him out to some of the shows so you all can show some love to him, because boy, what a neat man he is. So we just we're a family.
Yeah. I think if fans push enough, you can be heard, and the studios will really start bringing out everybody that we want to see to conventions, and just like Clone Wars Season 7,
Yeah.
get more Clone Wars, and now we got that mall show, so at least they're doing some more animation stuff.
Yeah. Let's see.
Next question. I know Catwoman, you had a...
Two things. First, I just wanted to say hi again.
Hello
And,
again.
Thank you so much for everything that you do. You were literally my idol. You got me into voice
Aw.
acting, so I just want to say thank you for that.
Bless you.
And my question is, it's with voice acting for you. What was the one grounding thing that really inspired you to do what you do? Like, something that really touched your heart in a way that moved you to do what you do now?
Well, you know, I'm 5'4" and about 120 pounds soaking wet. And I was the smallest kid in my class every single year. Every year. I was the shortest kid. And I loved doing voices to make people laugh and smile. And I'd recreate, you know, scenes from my favorite movies or TV shows for everybody. And I found that inspired people. And it was something in my DNA. And I shared this briefly at a panel earlier today, but so at 42, I found out the man I thought was my father my whole life was not my father. And so that was kind of like a, you know, oh, that's why I don't look like my brother or sister or anybody else, and why I'm such a nerd and they're not. And turns out my real dad actually did what I do for a living. He worked in radio and TV and hosted all of it. So some of it was in my DNA, I think. But I always had a passion for it. I loved Mel Blanc and Don Messick and all these guys that did all these characters. Dawes Butler, and then Peter Cullen and Frank Welker and Jim Cummings, and now I get to call them my friends. So it's really kind of amazing. It's amazing what you can do with your voice to tell a story. You know, so if a guy 5'4", 120 pounds can be, yeah, but dabba doo for Fred Flintstone, or Andre the Giant. So I'm Andre the Giant's voice double for The Princess Bride. Here, I'll need the mic.
Anybody want a peanut? I was not so sportsmanlike. Yes. And so I could do that.
And so it's like, and yet I can be Johnny Test and, you know, all those. So I loved that with this voice, I was able to make people happy. And so that was the reason. So, long answer to your question, but sorry, yeah.
No, it was a great answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you have more projects now that you're part of, and
Yeah.
Rippaverse and all that.
The Rippaverse, yes. Yes, the Rippaverse. Brandon, we love the Rippaverse. So yeah, I'm hoping to, there's a comic book. So I wrote a movie called The Comic Shop. And I'm really hoping to make it into a movie here soon. And I want it to be basically what you've done and what the Rippaverse has done for the fans. So in this movie, it's going to be a comic book shop, but I don't want any DC, Marvel, or any of that in it. Not, because I want my own stuff in there and I want fan stuff in there.
Yeah.
I want the room to be filled with comic books that you'll be able to look and go, oh, that's my comic book. Look at that in the background. Because all of you are so giving and wonderful and caring to all of us. I want to give a little bit back in that, but I also want it to be something that feels like it's genuine. And it's not because of any particular studio trying to make money.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to make that, and I'm making a comic book that goes in conjunction with it, and that's what I'm working with Rippaverse for. So we'll see what
That's
happens.
going to be great.
Yeah.
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 Yes, sir.
Tell me about the relationship you were able to build with Matt Lanter, because we saw you and Hayden able to build a relationship physically over just a few years. You and Matt have been in the studio for several years, and you not only got to spend time, but flush out these characters that we love so much. Tell me about getting to flush them out and just the relationship you built with Matt.
Matt Lanter is one of the most talented and hunky, good-looking. He's all that, and yet he's the biggest nerd on the planet, and a tech nerd. He loves cameras, he loves gear, and we are like brothers. And the funny thing is, we actually do live near each other, so we live walking distance from each other's houses. But he lives up on a hill, so you see where I'm going. He technically has the high ground. And he gives me a bad time about it. But what we loved is we got to know each other, and it turns out we're both Christians. We're both very, strong in our faith. That was kind of one of our connecting things when we first got to know each other. And then we both just really learned how to flesh these characters out. And Dave Filoni used to joke, he loved it, because we'd be off in a corner somewhere talking about gear or something. And he's like, there's my Obi Wan and Anakin, and it's like, and we've really been like brothers. I mean, he's one of my first people on my, text thing, and we loved getting those moments. It's interesting. Normally in the studio when they record, they would put you, if you have a lot of dialogue together, they would put you on either side of the room because they don't want bleed from the microphones. But they always felt it was important to put Matt and I next to each other, even though we had a lot of dialogue together. And we fed off of it, So it's just Obi Wan and Anakin being able to, and I would be sitting there going like this. And Matt naturally did this. And if you watch, there were always cameras on us. So they had cameras for the artists all the time. So a lot of the movements you see them do, they kind of took from us being on camera. So you see, well, Master, he'd do those things, he'd do this, and that's all Matt, and I love him like a brother. He's a wonderful human being, and he's an amazing actor. And I hope, he's got a new show out too, so watch that. It's on Amazon. It's really cool. So, yeah.
What's it called?
Oh gosh, what is it called? Does anybody?
I didn't mean to put you on the
remember what
spot.
No, it's.
I was like, might as well.
Yeah, it just flew out of my brain too. It's about Motorheads. Thank you.
The voice from the back.
Is that my wife? Thank you. She's a bigger Matt fan than me, I guess. Yeah.
James, thank you, and I know you're here today, so thanks.
Oh, bless you. Thanks, man.
We have another 45, 50 minutes left, so
Oh,
take your
gosh.
time, ask your questions, hang out. So, yes, sir.
So, real quick, and this to you.
Yes.
Last year when we met, you were wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned, I don't know if anybody else knows this, you may or may not be moving to Texas.
Right.
Any further?
So we opened up our warehouse in Florida. So I'm probably going to be in Florida most likely. But I haven't made the choice. I haven't made the decision. Hey, if you said that in Orlando, it'd be like, yay! But I still haven't made the decision fully. The warehouse is there, and we're expanding fast. So That was the idea, actually, was to buy a big piece of land here and have my house and then have the warehouse on my piece of land as well. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, yeah.
We'll be Texas.
I love Texas, I really do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, true. My team loves Buc-ee's. Yes.
What's the vision, in regards of George's legacy in the future of Star Wars? We love, and we are all here for what he did, and now we have different programs, different shows, different movies. But what is the future for the legacy that George left us?
That's a you question.
Oh man, gosh, I wouldn't know. I mean, I'm so uninvolved in any of it. You usually are. I mean, we sign so many NDAs that we end up going, what can I talk about? What can't I talk about? But I would tell you, I can't talk about that. So if I say I don't know, that means I don't know. But yeah, I'm not involved in the day-to-day of any of it anymore. But I don't know. I hope and pray that there would be some of that legacy coming in.
Anything you have?
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Geez, I mean, my thoughts are that personally, I feel like they've strayed away quite a bit. It's a bit gobbledygook with what they've done. Some of the animation, I feel like, is really on par with what George would have done. Some of the movies, for me, I feel like is not. And I think the best way forwards is to just have not too many cooks in the kitchen. So if they have Dave Filoni, then just Dave Filoni and his choices. If they have Jon Favreau, then just Jon and his choices. I don't believe in having Kathleen telling him what to do, or board executives or anybody like that telling them what to do, because they're just more so, in my opinion, suits. They look at the money. You should let the creatives and the talent, especially the ones that know George and respect his work, really drive home his idea. And I think that's what we're going to get, real Star Wars going forwards.
Yeah, I mean, to that point too, I mean, there's one person that spent every day on the phone or in conversation with George on a daily basis for several years, and that was, Dave Filoni. And so Dave is probably the closest one to getting that vision, but I don't know. We don't, we have each other's numbers. We don't talk all the time, but yeah, I don't know what their thoughts are. I would hope though that it would be to honor what George has done. I've always said that it's like when the Force Awakens came out, I was pretty honest. I mean, I did voices in the movie, and again, grateful to be a part of it. I don't know if you know, I was the original voice of Obi Wan in that movie.
No.
Yeah, originally. Did y'all know that? A couple of you know, yeah. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, didn't
We sensed it.
they blended all your voices, right?
Well, no. So, yeah, they blended Ewan and Sir Alec, but originally it was just me. And so it was Matt Wood and I in the studio. We were doing all the other, dialogue, Walla and stuff. It was Matt Lanter and myself and Tom Kane and Catherine Tabor and a bunch of us. And then they took a lunch break, and Matt said, "Hey, can you stay?" And he showed me this scene where, Rey touches the lightsaber, and there's this stuff, and he said that we're going to do all this stuff with sound. And so, I did Rey, listen, the Force is with you. And,
Wow.
and then, these are your first steps. And we just kind of rambled, just play as Obi Wan. And so I did, and what I'm told is, I guess JJ watched it, and he liked it so much, he said, "Yeah, let's get Ewan." So,
What the heck?
but that's the way it works. Ewan is the one that everybody thinks of as Obi Wan. They're not going to go, "Oh, let's bring in the voice actor," that's done him for the last 20 years. But but no. I as a voice actor, I'm used to
They should be made to.
But so they brought him in. But the funny thing is when I saw the movie, our voices are so similar. I thought it was me.
Yeah.
And then they told me, no, it wasn't you, it was Ewan. We brought Ewan in. And it was Sir Alec, they took, "Don't be afraid," right? They took "afraid" and they cut out the middle and they made "Rey. These are your first steps." But I was watching, somebody sent me a text the other day on Instagram, Ewan McGregor's daughter. Did y'all see that? She posted on May the 4th.
No.
She did a post of a picture of her when she was little with her dad as Obi Wan, and she had this sound file on it this is Jedi Master Obi Wan Kenobi. And she put it on there. She didn't realize it was my voice. And so some of you put out, that's James Arnold Taylor. And she's like, wow, he's good. So I felt a little redemption in not getting to be in Force Awakens then, I guess. So, yeah.
Is there a difference, is there a difference that you have in where your brain goes when you want to do Sir Alec versus Ewan? And how do you make that differentiation?
Yeah, there is, especially through the years now, because I have been able to be both. Sadly, I was not, it really actually broke my heart. I was not Old Ben in Rebels. That was Stephen Stanton. And I was Obi-Wan in Rebels. Of course,
I was killed by a stand-in.
Yeah. And yeah, it really broke my heart because everybody else got to kind of come back and do their thing, and I didn't get to. And I would have loved to because I've been Old Ben and everything since then. But they are very different voices. Hello there, come here, my little friend. Oh, don't worry. There's more of that. And I always tried to combine. And then Ewan's Obi-Wan is actually. It's a little higher, it's a little lighter, it's a little, he's got this way about him that's wonderful. And so I kind of combined both of them, and that's my Obi-Wan. So I tried to give a little, so it's kind of in between. And now mainly it's Lego stuff when I get to do Old Ben or regular or unleaded. But yeah, there's different tones and different ways of doing it, but yeah, that one was tough. Yeah, that was.
What would be cool if we did your lines and then put it over, just as like a fan creation.
Oh yes, I'm sure they'd love that.
Yeah, we should do that.
I'm sure Stephen Stanton would love that too. No.
Hey, fan stuff is.
Fan stuff is fan.
Fan stuff is
At
fan
this point,
stuff.
I'm a fan. So yeah,
You don't know.
that's right.
You used that for that? What do you mean?
Yeah, but no, it's
Just blame me.
Yes. Oh, no.
Blame all at this point.
Yes, blame all. I see lots of hands.
Next question. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you, with Plo Koon, how did you come up with that voice? Like Obi-Wan, you were using Ewan McGregor, but that was a whole new voice.
It was a new voice, yeah, kind of like Ashley with Ahsoka. Plo was very specific. Dave Filoni, we knew that it was his favorite character, and he came to me and he said one word to me. He said Gandalf, and so he wanted Ian McKellen. So here, I'll use the mic for this. So plugged in. So is that better? Is that a little better for this? It's Ian McKellen.
So basically, when I do Plo Koon, I just do this. But then what they do is they pitch it down to right about there, and then they put it through this phasing and make it sound like it's through a mask. So you get Koto Ya, not to me, and all that. But here's a funny story. So the first season we did it, and I was doing Gandalf, and then I watched it, and because I'm such a mimic, I watched the show, and I heard him down here. So when they brought me back in, I started talking down here. And so Matt would call me, he's like, James, you're killing me. Because now when I pitch it down, it's like down here. So I had to start pitching myself back up and just think, oh yes, just do Ian McKellen, and then they'll take care of the rest. So there's a little, probably in season 2, you'll hear Plo Koon is a little different because of what I was doing, and they had to kind of shift it around. But yeah, Plo's an amazing character. I love doing that one. It's fun.
What would you say was your most memorable scene or line or character that you recorded for all of the Clone Wars?
You can kill me, but you'll never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side. Only the weak embrace it.
That, right? How powerful, what an amazing scene. And here's another evil trick they did. We would get the scripts when we walked in the room. So I walked in the room that day, and I was reading it. And literally, so as a voice actor, you have to cold read. So I'm flipping through as quick as I can while they're talking and setting up mics and stuff and trying to see and highlighting it. Oh, okay, there. And if it's Plo and Obi-Wan, like in those scenes when you watch episodes where it's both of them, I would just flip back and forth. So, hello there.
Yes, Koto Yan.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
You know, I would just switch back and forth. And so in this one, I see the scene, and we get to it, and there's the actions in the script. And I'm waiting for it to say, Anakin comes in and saves the day and throws Obi-Wan his lightsaber, and they battle it out, and he grabs Satine, and they go away. And that didn't happen. And spoiler alert, sorry. And if you listen carefully when Obi-Wan goes to Satine and rushes to Satine, and he says, Satine, under his breath. That was me reading the actions. And I was so bummed what I was reading. And, you know, they kept it. And they kept it in there, and they used it. And, but I didn't know that was going to happen at all. And so that was heartbreaking. Yeah, that was rough. Anna was the only one that knew. And, yeah, Dave called her and was all excited. Here's how we're going to kill you, you know. She's like, great, you know. Anna Graves is a wonderful actress, and she did a marvelous job playing the Duchess, and so yeah. But yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
Still so surreal seeing both of you. It's really cool. But for theory, so I'm like the base nerd. I know that's probably a lot of questions you guys are asking.
You've come to the right place.
Yeah, I go right at home.
Yeah.
But it's I know what it's like to kind of be made fun of and just be like, oh, he's a nerd. He likes Star Wars. He's a nerd. But I know what it's like to be like kind of like that. So it's really like heartwarming to know that you are essentially like the voice of this whole community. And it's just really awesome to know that you support Star Wars as much as I do.
Amen.
It's just really awesome to know that.
Wow.
Absolutely.
If I had a big enough channel like yours, I would stand right beside you and defend Star Wars as much as you do.
Oh, thank you, man. All I need is
By being here.
Yeah.
All I need is just you guys watching the videos and just being in the live streams, hanging out, being here. That's really what keeps me going. And you know, it's. How old are you?
24.
Okay, so in the 90s it was quite different, especially when the prequels was coming out, and there was a lot of pushback on, you know, you think it was like divided back then until you see now, and it's like a completely different space entirely. But if you could survive that, you know, I feel like you'll be all right. So I'll always be there for the 6-year-old me, you know, that loved Star Wars, and never be kind of tainted by the channel size or money or anything like that going forwards, because that comes and goes. But, you know, it's staying true to who I was, that little kid, and what George made, and that'll always be something special, and you can always count on that. So
Can I
thanks
ask
for
you,
saying that.
What, I don't know if I know this. What is your, see, there's a difference between favorite and then what's the most impactful out of all of them?
Movies?
Yeah. Is Revenge of the Sith? No?
No. Revenge of the Sith is just cool.
Yeah.
Impactful, probably Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that because, you know, everybody always says Empire Strikes Back, because it was amazing. And I was, you know, I was one of those people that was actually alive when it came out. So many of you are so young. But Return of the Jedi was so special. You know, I cut school that day and went and saw it at the Arlington Theater in Santa Barbara, California, where I, you know, grew up. And it was this magical theater, 2,200-seat theater, and it looks like a Spanish village. Mm-hmm. And the ceiling has stars and stuff. And I watched Return of the Jedi, and then we stayed and, you know, snuck in. We did that with Indiana Jones as well and all that back in the day. And Jedi was so impactful. And then A New Hope. I've kind of shifted. I think A New Hope is my favorite because without it, we don't have anything, right? We don't have any of this. And it's so amazing and beautiful as a film and what he accomplished with it. But Return of the Jedi is my runner-up or tied with it because it's such a hopeful movie as well. And I loved how it ended. And that's that was the thing. Oh, that was what I was going to say. I was kind of alone in that. I was kind of vocal at the time when Force Awakens came out. And again, it's tough because I didn't want to offend them. But when people ask me, what did you think of the movie? I said, it kind of feels like the kids got the keys to Dad's car and took it for a drive. It was the same car. It drove kind of the same, but it wasn't on the same path. And that was what hurt my soul, because Return of the Jedi summed it up. I didn't want to see the aftermath of it in that way, and that's what bummed me out. But Jedi is still a really special movie, and I think that it sticks with us all. So I like hearing you say that. Yeah.
I think, especially as a kid, green's my favorite color.
Yeah.
But also, just seeing Luke walk in.
Oh my gosh.
Into Jabba's palace.
Right? We all can picture it as he says it.
Oh my God, dude, that just that ran with me my whole life. Was just from where he was, being this farm boy who knows nothing of the Force, and being just totally out of touch with everything, and whining, complaining, then coming in and just like a badass, just choking out guards, walking through.
Oh yeah.
Calm, stoic, always knows what to do.
Yeah.
That was the Luke that I grew up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was so magical when you say that as a kid watching it, because
dude,
Empire Strikes Back, I mean, he had a pretty cool outfit, the whole, thing with the collar and the tan. And then what happened during that time that he comes back and he's that?
Yeah.
The guys are choking and it's like he's just
from junior year to senior year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It never works out that way.
Right.
Don't go to school with the Jedi Club. Don't do it.
And how many of us can emotionally, come to tears when him and Darth Vader and throwing the sabers. We've never seen lightsaber battles like that, and everything now is so elevated. Yet there's such beauty in what Nick Lard and all those guys did back then. It was really pushing them back and forth, and then and sister, when he says that, and you're like, oh, chills. And then it's just the fire and the passion that was in that movie. And then the Emperor at the end, yes, it's just like, oh. And when he grabs the saber, right? See, there's nothing cooler about talking about something we've all seen a million times with a group of friends that love it.
Who get it, yeah.
That's what I love about you. Yeah. That's what I love what you're doing here. And that's what's so fun, because I think, unfortunately, when you work in something for so long, it's like inside baseball. You forget that. And it's like, you want to be able to go into the room when you go to record Star Wars and go, remember those moments? Yeah. Okay, now let's make Star Wars. You know? So that's maybe what's missing.
Did you, I don't know if you knew about this. You probably did, but to me it was news that Roger Christian told me a couple weeks ago that for episode 4, George actually cut out all of the Force.
No.
Yeah, so when they were filming episode 4, this is 2 weeks old, I found out, Roger Christian literally said that George was worried that everyone would hate the Force, and he cut everything out. And then Marsha Lucas went back in and she put it all back in. And then when it was time to deliver it to the studio, George was like, you put the Force back in? And she's like, yeah, it didn't make sense without it. And he's like freaking out about it, apparently. Like he was panicking, as Roger was saying. And so without Marsha, apparently we wouldn't have had the Force in Star Wars at all.
They won an Oscar for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, as an artist, as a content creator, what does it mean to actually get out there in conventions, which you have been doing a lot now, and then you get to interact with the public, with the people that love what you guys do? What does it mean, the interaction that you now are having with all of us, which we mostly appreciate? It's fantastic to have you.
Oh, well. It's fantastic to be a part of it. You know, for many years I was blessed to be the host of Star Wars weekends at Disney World, and then Star Wars Celebration I hosted for 2 years, which were great in Anaheim and in Orlando. And that was kind of my way of interacting with the fans. And then I got to start coming to Comic-Cons and seeing it all in a different way. And after COVID as well, it changed because everybody was happy to be back.
Yeah.
It was starting to kind of, taper off where everybody was kind of taking it for granted again, kind of like Star Wars, right? And then it's come back, so it's really wonderful. I mean, I think that's the most special part is when we all get to have conversations together and just talk about how cool all of it is. So, yeah, I don't know, how about for you?
You're amazing with your chat and all the interaction that you have in your channel with all of them, but now you're interacting directly with all of us. What does that mean to you?
Oh, dude, my answer is gonna be totally different. I mean, he's a celebrity. For me, it's like.
And you're not.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I never. And that's one thing people always say is how do you stay so the same? Yeah, and I've met a lot of YouTubers and they're not that great to be honest, but they let it get to them. Let me just say that, and. I don't know, man. I made a video on my phone. I've been a Star Wars fan my whole life, and I've been like beaten to shit for it basically as a kid growing up. So for me, I'm just doing what I love, and I just see myself as part of you guys. I don't see myself as like anyone. So when people say you're the voice of, I'm like, no, I don't really think of it like that. I'm just doing my thing, talking about George Lucas Star Wars and having fun with it. And anything beyond that, I'm blessed to be able to now have friends that I always wanted when I was a kid growing up, when I would just like read my books alone or whatever, so like we all did. So for me, it's just, it's beautiful to have that interaction in person, whereas it's usually online. And before that, it was just forums. And before that, it was non-existent, so.
Right.
I find that fascinating because, see, again, I grew up with Star Wars, the original Star Wars. So if you were a Star Wars fan, that was kind of like, of course you're a Star Wars fan. But then it went through a period then to where if you were a Star Wars fan, people might go, oh, nerd, or like.
Oh, yeah.
That's just, wow.
Yeah, you don't get invited to parties, the girls don't like you, the jocks make fun of you, you get, pushed into lockers.
You're just making Obi Wan mad now.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Well,
I'm going to do something about that. No, that is remarkable to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like it's like, I guess a different generation. Because
Yeah.
when it came out, it was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But then I guess in the 90s and early 2000s, it was
yeah.
like, oh, you're a kid.
Yeah.
Or, oh, like, you don't get girls. Or, oh, you don't go to parties. Or you're not cool.
Right.
Don't bring the Star Wars nerd,
That's fascinating.
Yeah. But now it's changed again.
Yeah.
And it's more so. Actually, you know what? I feel like it's muddy now because it's like you have fans that have always been fans, but then you can make money being a fan. So it's kind of like you don't know who's almost who sometimes, and it's interesting. It's different.
I think the reason why you might not be able to have the footing is because being where I'm at and being able to see behind the scenes where I've been able to see it, being able to come with you and the team and see the family aspect, I've been able to realize what happened was when Disney took over, Star Wars dropped the ball. Like the proverbial ball was dropped. Theory got angry. He got angry because so many voices weren't being heard. He picked that ball up, and the reason why maybe he doesn't necessarily know the answer that was just asked, or the answer to the question that was just asked, isn't because he's not or is a celebrity, but because he's literally trying to do with the fandom what he feels is the right thing, even though it might be sacrificing opinions, sacrificing nights, sacrificing days, because he's like, I cannot afford to let this die because this is my childhood. It's our childhood. So it's not, I'm not going to say it's an unfair question, but like, what is it like? Because he doesn't know. Like the rest of us, we don't know. All he knows is that he's a voice, an opinion at the end of the day, but he's amassed so many people like us. We don't know what the future of Star Wars is, but the point is that we are here to be ready for that future, to pick that ball up if he needs us. Just the same way. We're it doesn't matter what opinions you have or don't have, because at the end of the day, you still get out there, you still go to work, and you make this work. The hours, the sleepless nights, the sick, you're still on it. The day's not in the gym. What am I going to do next? Thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you. They thank you.
I see a hand in the back there.
Do Fred Flintstone.
Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. There's Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. Let's see. Not like Gumdrop Buttons. There's Genji.
Captain Jack Sparrow mays, yes, yo-ho. Whenever Johnny Depp's not able to be him, I'm him for him, yes. Savvy. Christopher Walken, I did him already, right? I could use some cowbell. But
Yeah, no, I don't know. There's a little mashup of all of them. I'm sure there's many more, but yeah. Is that okay? Sure.